I'm just checking to see how many minutes I've got, because I've tried to do podcasts for probably twice and I haven't had enough space to do it, and I've had to check it because I don't like it when I start a podcast, really get into it, and then I don't realise that having got enough time. I've got time. I've got time now. Yeah, so basically it's good to be back doing the podcast. And I've had a week off anyway because I wasn't feeling 100%, but I'm feeling a lot better now, which is good. So I will continue from where I left off, because I don't know why I always do that, put things sort of like further away from me. I'm still talking about my book, A Sacrifice of a Lifetime, and I have got to the part where Rebecca, the main character, is going out with, well, she's decided to start seeing somebody called Wayne, and she's gone to his, they've met up. He lives in East Dulwich. He lived in East Dulwich. This was years ago. And they've agreed to meet up at East Dulwich train station. She's gone to his flat, and it's a very basic flat. And then I think it is the second time. I think it's the second time she goes to his flat, and a friend comes in very briefly. And then when he leaves, Wayne then tells her that his friend said that you should do your hair differently because the way that you've done it, it makes you look like you're African or something like that. Yeah. You could not say that to someone now. And, you know, Wayne is a man of colour. I think his friend, I don't think his friend was. I can't remember. I don't think so, though. But, you know, I think when someone says that, especially when they're not of colour, it's a time for you to turn around and say, well, you know, something about African beauty or some sort of compliment. It shouldn't really be, someone shouldn't think that they have the right to say something like that. And today, you couldn't sort of say something like that to someone. It's just rude. You know, and there's beauty in all cultures. There's beauty in all cultures. And sometimes people don't want to admit it, you know, but there is. So, yeah, so that's happened. And I talked a little bit about that as well. And especially because Rebecca at the time, she's only 17 and a half, 18. So, you know, can you imagine, you know, someone saying that? And it to be honest, it does happen, because you do get people that will say something about the way that you look, and you know, and then all of a sudden now it can take away your confidence. You know, you can walk around thinking that you're not good enough. You know, it can have all these. It could. I think it's because of the way Rebecca was, even though, you know, she'd gone through stuff, you know, indirect bullying and all that sort of stuff. She did have that mentality to know that there is beauty in the African culture, because that's her background. And most probably subconsciously, because her mum was a very beautiful, attractive lady, dressed really, really well. And her father was, you know, handsome, intelligent man. So she had that. So what he subconsciously, that's probably why it didn't affect her like that. It was like, you know, that's probably why now that I'm talking to you about it. So anyway, what's happened now is she spent a bit of time with Wayne. Where did I get up to? I want to know. Let's see if I can. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so basically, this is the part where the first thing he said, because basically the friend comes and then he introduces his friend as Paul, and then Wayne goes into the bedroom, gets something, gives it to Paul. He leaves, and then the first thing he says when he returns with Wayne then says, do you want another coffee? Wayne asks as soon as his friend had gone. The first thing he said when he returned with the hot drink was, Paul. Rebecca took her eyes off the television quickly and looked at Wayne, wondering what he was going to say. Paul said that your hairstyle doesn't suit your face. Oh, that's it. Your hairstyle doesn't suit your face, and it makes you look African. And that does not make sense, because that's what her heritage is. It's silly, it really is. You should make yourself look more European. So Wayne is a man of colour. He was either mixed race or very fair skin. And his friend, I'm sure of it, was white, I think. I'm sure he was. She felt insulted by this criticism. What right had Paul to criticise her, and then have the cheek to tell Wayne? She decided to say nothing and not to give Wayne a clue about what she was thinking. It did not help, however, when he supported Paul by adding, "You should do something with your hair to make yourself look better." The amount of effort Rebecca had gone in that morning. Does that make sense? The amount of effort Rebecca had taken to do her hair. She had it washed, blow dried, pressed. She remember asking her mum to press her hair back. She really took a lot of effort into it. And this is what he was saying. She felt it was one of her best hairstyles. Yeah, and one thing about Wayne fascinated Rebecca was his maturity. His maturity. Not, it doesn't make sense. Some of the way I've written some of the word in it, you can tell it needs a lot of work. Although he looked young, she had taken him for perhaps 24. She had learned that he was in fact 1 year older than Vincent. Although she had confidence in her appearance and had gone to great trouble to prepare her hair, it was easier for her to take the criticism from him than someone younger, especially as his face lit up when he spoke to her. And then basically he then so then something, basically he's now asking her to go into the bedroom and she doesn't really want to, and it's that sort of thing. Yeah, let me see what else I can read. I don't want to give out too much. Okay, yeah, so basically he takes her into the bedroom, and then I've written here, he gives her a cardboard kiss, takes her into the bedroom. Can you imagine insulting someone like that? Your hair doesn't look nice, and then it's like, oh, let's go to the bedroom. Anyway, and she basically wasn't prepared for that. That's not how she wanted the relationship to go. It feels as though I want to cough, because I'm just sort of recovering from a cough as well. So please excuse me. I'm going to take some water. Hold on just for a moment. Excuse me. I've got my water here. Yeah. Yeah, so basically, yeah. So she's saying this was not the way she wanted their relationship to develop. She was petrified. She was attracted to him, but at the same time she felt insecure about him, particularly about his flat. Does that make sense? Yeah, so basically she lay on the bed she lay on the bed side by side with their clothes. They lay on the bed side by side with their clothes on. Wayne talked and talked. Rebecca just lay there, listened, wondering why she had an unpleasant feeling and why she did not feel warm and safe with him. Wayne made no further attempt to persuade her, and when she indicated that it was time for her to go, he walked her to the station. As soon as she arrived home, she quickly ran upstairs and took the telephone into her room. She rang Vincent, feeling safer and calmer just by talking to him. However, a feeling of guilt remained with her, and she knew that if she was going to have a relationship with Wayne, she would have to tell Vincent. In truth, she did not know what she wanted. She was in a state of confusion. So with Vincent, she felt safe. With Wayne, she didn't. And it's, they call it a red flag now, don't they? They call it a red flag. Especially, if someone's chosen, if they're interested in you, and, next minute, because their friend has told you. Can you imagine? A friend could tell him anything that he's not. The friend could look at Rebecca and say, I'm not happy with the way that she wears her makeup and I don't like that skirt. And then Wayne turns around when I think you should wear another shade of lipstick and that skirt, don't wear it again. I don't like, Or Paul told me. Can you imagine living like that? I know that that's not what happened, but it's not very helpful for a friend to be telling, he should have really said, I quite, but obviously he didn't like the hairstyle, but it just doesn't make sense. If you're interested in dating someone, next minute you're telling them to look more European. Why not just look for someone who looks European? Why go for somebody if they look African, and then next minute you're telling them that you should make yourself look more European? How's that supposed to look? What's that supposed to mean? Excuse moi. Yeah, so that's why it's good if you come from a stable background. If you don't come from a stable background, that sort of comment can really mess you up. Like, I used to, Rebecca used to really admire her mum, because I'm Rebecca in the book, right? And I really used to admire my mum. I admired her dress sense. And the clothes that she wore then, she could wear to this day, she could wear them. Because they were chic. Had a sense of style and colour. And you remember the petticoats, those things that you're supposed to put under your dress so you don't see the underwear. And you had like a long one, which now you can get as dresses. Or you can get one from the waist down. She used to make a lot of her dresses as well. It used to have an inside lining, so you didn't have to buy a petticoat. Some of the dresses used to have inside linings. It wasn't sort of this thin stuff. And then you put it on, you can see the lining of your underwear, I used to really admire my mum's dress sense, and then she used to wear lovely perfume, and, designer jewelry, not designer jewelry. It was, what do you call the jewelry that is not real jewelry, but it's jewelry? I can't even remember. Accessories. You really, like pearls and things like that. Really used to admire her. So she was a beautiful woman, and she was born in Africa. So for someone to turn around and say that subconsciously didn't make sense. Did not make sense. But if I didn't have that foundation, I would have most probably questioned it and sort of thought, I really do like this person. He doesn't want me to look like that because I look too African. So I've got to start, Nah. I'm really grateful that I had that. And not only that, and I'm not putting anybody down that didn't. Because there's certain things in this book, in this story I'm sharing with you, you would never do. Because a lot of people have judged Rebecca, have judged me because of this story. But there's a reason why I'm sharing it. And I've shared it before. Because I've overcome. I'm not that person anymore. And it's to help. Sometimes we go through situations and they're not good situations. Sometimes we make the wrong decisions. But the main thing is that we've acknowledged we made the wrong decision, and we try and figure out what could we have done for us to have made the right decision. But we learn from it. And then hopefully, if you see someone in a situation like that, you can help them and say, well, actually, maybe that's not the right decision to take, or because. you know. Yeah, so she basically knows she has to choose. Does she stay with Vincent? And she's not really interested in Vincent. Does she stay with Wayne? Wayne's more her type, but she doesn't feel happy or um, I've written it down here. Excuse my throat. Sorry, it's a bit dry. She doesn't feel happy or relaxed or, you know, around Wayne. That's the red flag. Don't pursue it. Don't go on with it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Don't go on with it. Don't go on with it. But I think, you know, I think as a woman, as a grown woman now, I sort of look back. And then, you know, I do look and, you know, you sort of say, yeah, there were decisions, there were things I shouldn't have done. And I learned from them. But you sort of know what to avoid now, especially when you settle down and you're in a, you know, you've settled down, you got your spouse, you got your children. You get it, you know, because I know that some people can settle down and have their spouse and have children. They don't get it. And they're still messing up their lives. But not only are they messing up their lives, they're messing up their spouses' wives, their children's lives, you know. So it's good if you can learn. It's good if you can learn. It's good if you can learn when you're single. No responsibility, you can learn. So, but it's good if you don't have to learn this way, you know, what Rebecca goes through. But I'm sharing. Okay, we've all got different stories to share. So basically, she felt confused. There was a time I remember where, on a Saturday, she would start going to Wayne's flat. She wasn't listening to any red flags. She wasn't listening to the way that she felt. She wasn't listening. She just liked Wayne, and that was that. She wasn't listening. It's like the curious cat. Excuse me. Excuse me. So there was one Saturday where she agreed to go to Wayne's flat. It was a Saturday afternoon, and she was at East Croydon train station waiting for the train. And while standing there, I remember seeing, or she remembers seeing, I don't even know if it was a matter of seeing someone. Maybe it was in her imagination whereby she wished that she was going to travel from the station to do something more integral, something like going to work. I know that her parents wanted her to become a nurse. I know that she hadn't. I don't think she had done that yet, but her parents wanted her to become a nurse. So it would be nice if she was sort of thinking it would be nice if she was waiting for the train to go to hospital to work as a nurse. So that she had this timetable where she was spending her time now to do something constructive, going to work. But she was going to go and meet up with Wayne. And she was going to go and meet up with someone that she wasn't happy, she didn't feel happy with. But she was going to, it was just this thing, it just felt like it was this thing just saying and just pushing her to go, even though it wasn't really the right decision for her. So, yeah, so she felt sad, very weary. And eventually I don't think I had that feeling of loneliness. Did I have that feeling of loneliness then? I can't. I'll know in the book. It's all written down. Because there was a time I remember, and it may have been this time, but I have to read more in the book, where I had a feeling of loneliness. I think it may have been, it was a feeling of loneliness. And I don't know whether you've experienced this, whereby with Rebecca, she liked her own company, and she felt safe just when it was herself. As regards to issues that she'd been through, as regards to her peer group, indirect bullying and stuff, doing stuff behind her back and stuff like that. So she did enjoy her company, fantastic, her own company. But there was a time where she didn't. It's not like she wanted to be around people, but it was like that peace that she felt going to the park, walking through the park, sitting on a bench and just admiring the green grass or the blue sky or the flowers. She went through a stage where she couldn't. It felt scary being on her own. I think that came soon after spending a bit more time with Wayne, but I won't know fully until I read the book. But I think it was either then or it could have been the time before that. But I think it was then because it took about 2 or 3 years for me to sort of slowly get back what I had. And I think that the reason is because it's like a spiritual thing. It felt as though, although she wasn't living her life as a Christian, she was being raised up to be a Christian. Like I've shared before, she was going to church with her parents, but then stopped at the age of 17. From that moment, that's when she started making wrong decisions, right? And it just felt like she felt like God was really upset with her and he was there but at a distance. And that's where the loneliness, I feel, was coming from. Even though she wasn't, living a righteous life, she was trying. But like I say, when she left church or stopped going to church at 17, and then she started making all the wrong decisions, and then she's in a developing a relationship with Wayne. I think it happened sort of round about that time. I think if not, it's before. And again, but it's the same. It was roughly about the same thing. Just not living the right life and making wrong decisions. I don't know whether you can relate to what I'm saying. If you can relate to anything that I've shared about Sacrifice of a Lifetime. And if you're coming across this video, try and watch the videos previously so you sort of understand what I'm talking about. Because I'm sharing about the book I showed you, Sacrifice of a Lifetime. And I've got to chapter, I think I'm on chapter, what chapter is this? Let me see what chapter I'm on. Chapter 10. I'm on chapter 10. Just in case you want to know more. And I'm rewriting it, so eventually the book will come out. So I won't share everything in the book. You can read it for yourself. Yeah, it says that I've written down one. She was thinking about wanting a life with more of a professional background to bring back the notion of order. She needed order in her life. On the Saturday before, she used to spend time cleaning up the house and getting ready to go out with Vincent. Vincent would take her back home. But with Wayne, it was this thing. It just, nothing was really happening. She's just spending time in his flat, and she's not learning it. With Vincent, she was learning how, if you want this type of life, you have to work hard. She was, he had a car and he used to take her places, buy her, a nice drink, some snacks, or maybe go to a jazz club or somewhere. It wouldn't be like a rowdy club. He'd take her somewhere nice and leave at a nice time and take her home. And in the week, take her to the movies. But with Wayne, it was just going to his flat. She wasn't really learning anything. And he'd work, but sporadically. So it's not, yeah. I've written down, felt like her life had broken down because of the decision she had made, that one decision she had made to want to start dating Wayne. She still hadn't told Vincent about this. I don't think so, or maybe she must have by now, because I'm sort of probably moving on into the relationship a bit more. Yeah. And I remember working in my father's hardware store. We had a hardware store in Earlsfield, and I've shared anyway. And a woman came in, and I remember we were talking, and I said, "Oh, I'm not sure. I've got something on my mind. I'm not sure." And she said, "What is it that you're not sure about?" Something like that. And I said, "Oh, I've got 2 boyfriends, and I don't know which one to go out with." Her face, it was like, it just seemed silly saying it, but it's a big decision for a young woman to make, because it can affect your future, who you choose. So maybe she'd never been in a situation like that, so she couldn't relate. But it would have been nice if she said, "Well, you've got to look at the pros and the cons," or something like that. What do you like about this? But it was like nothing was said. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've put here that it may have related to the fact that she couldn't. It maybe she reacted like that because she had never been in that situation, so couldn't relate, or she might have thought it was a bit frivolous. It's not though. It is a decision. It is a big decision for a young woman to make. Yeah. And it says here, I've written down, Rebecca knew that the decision she made would affect her future. Yeah, so there you go. I thought I'd share that with you. I'll probably chat a little bit more about decisions we make and how it can affect our future in the next podcast. But she knew she didn't want to marry Vincent. That was it. She knew she didn't. She just didn't feel like he was right for her. If Wayne had proposed, she probably would have said yes, even though she knew he wasn't right for her. She would have. There was something going on. I'm telling you, some sort of a force here. And this her parents hopefully would have intervened and said no. But I'm glad that didn't happen. I don't know if you've been in a situation where you've met somebody and you've really, really liked them, and it hasn't worked out, or they haven't liked you back, and then you've seen them 5-10 years later, and you sort of say, "Thank you, God, for just not letting that relationship continue. Now I understand." Yeah, definitely so. But I thought I'd share that with you. I want to be more consistent in putting the podcast out, but I need to build up the numbers, because I put in a lot of effort into sharing, because it's quite personal and it means a lot to me. And I'm sharing with you like I'm talking. I hope it feels like it, like I'm just talking to you one to one. And sometimes when I share with people, they don't realize that I'm honoring them by sharing, because I won't share with just anyone. And even though I don't know who's watching, I still value the fact that you're listening. I value that. I do value it very much so. And it's a story that I feel like, although I'm sharing bits of it, and the way that Rebecca's living isn't all that constructive, I'm sharing because I feel like it will be constructive, because people will sort of learn a little bit from it. And I'm sure people will learn a lot from it. And I feel like it's beneficial. It's beneficial as it was then. It's beneficial to this day. So that's why I'm sharing as well. And I'm looking forward to bring the book back out. And I'm really looking forward to it. Like I say, it's quite controversial, but I'm mature enough now to share about it and to take the finger pointing, because it's like, just point, look at the fingers pointing back. Should have me. Yeah. So it's all good. If you'd like to watch more of my videos, please do go to Welcome Rosalind Roberts on YouTube. And my podcasts are on YouTube Studio. I've got to learn. I've come across a video where it's teaching you how to download the videos onto YouTube, but the way to do it is going to encourage more people to see them. I think to see them. Let me speak properly, because I think the way that I've been doing it, it's not the right way to do it. Even though I've been putting them on YouTube, there's another way of doing it. So I'm gonna sort of look at that video and start using that and seeing the difference as well. I have seen an improvement because I've been investing a little bit as well as regards to putting my work out. But I've gone through a time where I haven't. If you want to look at my socials, I'm on Instagram, Roslyn1325. I'm on Facebook, Threads, and X. But I do look forward to speaking to you, so take care. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.